Okay, next we have math, so that we can kind of digest and talk about the data. And this is pretty straightforward, and I just want to help you be able to read and understand your child's math scores. And then we'll switch over to Miss Priscilla and Miss Caroline. So on your table, I have put one of the documents that kind of walks you through what the different components are, but I want to back up because I know that there's some parents in the room that are just completely unfamiliar with what the test is and how your child sits to take the test. So this test does begin in 2nd grade and it goes through 10th grade. All of the tests, the reading, the math, and language usage are aligned to our Arrow standards that are taught within our school curriculum. Within the different tests, it is broken up into subtests that is just kind of, the different questions go throughout the test. And these are the just different areas within the tests. Okay, the one wonderful thing about math is there's no time constraint. We all know that we do things at different rates, and that's a wonderful aspect about the math test. It generally takes about 45 minutes to 90 minutes, about an hour and a half. Some kids, will finish in 40. Again, the main thing is that they take their time to answer the test at the rate that they need to. This is how many students. There are about 3,500 districts around the world. This is the measures of academic progress. Is a standardized test that many international schools are using around the world to see and to kind of track their students' growth. So there's millions of students around the globe that are using this standardized assessment. Why do we use exactly this type of assessment? It really is because it gives us so much detailed information about your child. There is norming so that we can see where they are in relationship to students their age around the world, but really what is important is it measures their growth, and we really want to hone in and find out the most information we can about each individual child. The teacher then uses the numbers and the data to find out exactly what instructional level your child is learning at so that they can guide their instruction more specifically so that they have better instruction, so that if they need to be pushed and challenged, they're doing very well, or if they need some additional support, the information on the math test will give that information. Okay, so this is a lovely academic word that your kids will definitely know what it means. A formative assessment is there's no action from it. It's really just important information. It really tells us so that we can target our instruction. It's not a gateway into something or out of something. It's just really that information. There's nothing that happens because they did really well or maybe they had a bad day and they didn't do really well. But you'll hear over and over again when people talk about math, it's about that growth of each individual child. It's not about the score, it's that growth over time. So this is something also that's important to understand is every child that is taking a math test, their questions are not going to be exactly the same. The test adapts. So as I answer correctly, it may give me another question that is equally difficult. And then if I answer it correct again, it may choose from a bank of questions and give a more difficult question. If I answer incorrectly, the test will try again. And then if I answer incorrectly again, it may bump down and give me a different type of question. So the questions that our students are answering are very, very differently. They're all differently because it's a massive bank of questions. So that's where the questions are really precise and they hone in, they really find exactly where your child is at. So they take a lot of them in, a lot of different questions and they get exactly that point. The funny thing is, because the kids will compare where they left off and then the questions of when they start again. The test is smart. They don't start again way down here. If they ended up with a score, when they start next time, that's where the test is going to start. So that the test doesn't go way back down to make sure. It's going to start at that more difficult level and then go up from there. So it really alleviates a lot of time as well, so that they don't have to repeat and redo a lot of similar questions. Okay, this is the tricky word that is super difficult to understand. The RIT score, that main number, then we're going to take a look at the report really quickly, is the ready for instruction today, is what that really means. So it really is telling the teachers what skills your child is ready to learn. With some of the numbers, many of you, if you've had a child take the MAP test at different times, the numbers seem to be a little bit different in that they can be confusing, and then people just have asked a lot of questions. It's for the RIT scores, the Ready for Instruction, our scores tend to be higher in math, and with just around the globe, those numbers tend to be higher. So it's not something your child did wrong or right. It's just the reading and language usage seem to be a little bit lower, the way that the testing is normed. Again, that it's not anything that they did right or wrong. There's just a variance with those numbers. Okay, so these are just some sample questions I'm not going to go through, but, and again, I'll share this out so you can look on your computer as well, but you can just see just the gradation of the questions, how it becomes much more complex as the level goes up with where their RIT score is. Okay, most of you, if you did not attend PTC, these will be mailed to you. We were waiting for today, actually. If you did not receive your child's MAP score and the comments from PowerSchool, you can stop down to the office this morning and grab this, otherwise they're going to go in the mail today. But this is what you will see, is you will see a graph for your child. And what's really important to know, and this is from a reading test, is that the blue line is your child. The blue line is your child. And the yellow line is the norm group from around the world, hundreds of thousands of students in the same age range of your child. You will see on here, and I put a little arrow here, the Lexile range. Your child, again, will probably know exactly what that means, but it really just is a number to tell us what level readability of books that they're at. When you go to bookstores, when they select books here at school, that's something that they pay attention to make sure that they have just the right book. You guys have probably heard that in elementary school. They'll do the 5 fingers, but this is just a more complex word and understanding that they should have about where their reading level is. Because we want to make sure that the child is not reading something that is extremely difficult for them, and likewise we also don't want a book that's too easy for them to be reading as well.
And one quick note on Lexile levels, if you're looking for texts, you can start right here at the Griffith Library and you can talk to our librarian, Ms. Natalie, and you can say, hey, my student is around an 1100 or a 1200 Lexile, could you recommend some books? And she's terrific at that. Also, a quick Google search, if you say a list of books at the 1100 Lexile range, you'll get 1 million Google results with lists of texts that are at that level that your students can choose from.
The other reason that I wanted to show this specific graph with the reading is I'm talking to you about growth. What we really want the line to do is to go upward. When the child is younger, you'll see more of a sharp line up. But as they get older and the tests get much more difficult, that line is not so drastically up. The incline is not so steep. But with that said, there are times where they might dip. So if you take a look at this graph right here, this went down a little bit. This is not cause for panic. Okay, there are a lot of different things. This is one test on one day. Your child's in class, your teacher knows your child, they're looking at different things. If this happens and their academic progress within class is happening, and we're talking to the teachers, then that's when we're going to reach out to you and have a conversation and see what additional things we can do for support. This might just mean that they had a bad night's sleep or didn't eat breakfast or something like that. This is not cause for concern. This is often the case as well after summer, that you'll see a little bit of a dip. But you can see here there's a little bit of a dip and then a massive shoot up. So again, I really want to make sure that everybody knows that that's not a cause for concern. Another piece of information on your test is, you will see this on the side. And these numbers right here, the number in the middle is always bolded. This is kind of the range of questions that your child answered. And then this is the middle number of where they scored. This is the range of questions that they answered. The RIT growth, okay, this is telling you how much your child grew with that ready for instruction number. So this is the growth, and then this is the projection. The test is super smart. There's an algorithm, so they're guessing and they know with that algorithm about what's typical to expect for this child, for your child to grow on the next test. Okay? And then here, the percentile rank. This is against the normed group, okay? To understand where that child is in that percentile rank would be in that range. All right. One other important aspect is as we started this presentation, we said like the different tests are broken down into different sections. So say we have two students and they both ended up with a 219 RIT score. That doesn't mean that their strengths and areas of growth are exactly the same. That's another benefit of this test, because it's broken down into these different tests, and you will see the information here. Oops. And it tells you right here for the writing, this child up above was average. Down here, this student below did really well on that writing piece of the language usage. So it still is all compiled into the same score of 219, but it's broken down and there's different strengths and weaknesses for both of these students. Okay, one thing that we did, and this is on your table, is, and we've also translated on here the next couple slides in Thai so that you can take a look at this later, is to be able to look at all the information and break it down so that when you're not here with us that you have an idea of what all of this means. Just the quick reference chart. So this is the paper that you do have on your table. It's all numbered and it corresponds to here so that you can take a look and compare with your child's math report. And then we've also translated the entire text in Thai so that you can take a look and have a deeper understanding of that. Additionally, at the end of here, the NWEA has a tremendous amount of parent resources. So we've linked on here some different resources for you to take a look and walk through. Okay, before I turn it over for parenting, I know that we've been fielding different MAP scores. What are some questions that we can answer about the MAP testing? They will take it again in the spring. We do take the test 2 times throughout the year. No questions? We answered them all at PTC because I know that a lot of people had questions at PTC. Yes?
This graph, I guess 3 lines,
Yes.
but in my result for my daughter, we see only 2 graphs, so what's the difference?
On our reports, the reports are for the global and also for your child. We don't have the RAS norm that's on our graphs. No. Why not? Because the district had decided it was causing a great deal of stress, and I have to say some really unkind things were happening between our students and our families, unfortunately. So because the test is really about the individual child, we really felt that it was becoming very destructive, actually. I will say that our numbers as a district, I can tell you that, are very high. I have different graphs that I can show you of what our students do against Singapore schools, against Thai schools, international schools within Thailand that take the MAP test. And we're above on all 3 subtests, the reading, the language usage, and the math. Thank you for asking.
There is a good amount of information that the MAP generates for the teachers that goes beyond the numbers. As Gretchen mentioned, this is a growth test. It's not an achievement test. It's an individual. It's kind of like a note to their teachers that says, this is what I've had a lot of practice with, and this is what I haven't had a lot of practice with. And it's very specific and very individual for each kid, and that's part of the reason why comparing the 2 numbers isn't relevant, and that's why we chose to kind of take that away, because it was only causing bad feelings, and it actually isn't a valid comparison anyway. But if anybody would like to sit down and see some of that additional information, some of the specific instructional information that's generated for the teachers, I would be happy to sit with you and provide that and explain some of those areas with you. So if anybody out there wants to discuss the MAP information further, I would be happy to do that. I've already done that with several parents. So please reach out, let me know if you'd like to schedule a time to sit down and learn a little bit more about what the MAP generated for your specific student.
Yeah, great point. Thank you, Matthias. We're showing you an overview. The teacher login of what is available to them for each individual child with the MAP results is tremendous. There is a massive resource that the teacher has access to about each child, of what they're ready to learn, what they're very capable of doing, and then what would be something to stretch them. And it breaks it down by all of the different strands for each individual student, so that we know, and Matthias and I go through all of the students' data and information to see if there is something, if they really need to be pushed, so we can speak to the teacher and encourage that, or additionally to provide some support. So we take a look at all of that data, and they do this as well in their roll call meetings, just so that their information and everything is being based off of the data for each child. Okay, very quickly, and did anybody in here have a child participate in Home Alone last year? No, I don't see. So basically, Home Alone is a Red Cross class that Miss Linda Lund in the high school offers. Essentially what it is training for your child with some CPR, some first aid, and knowing how to respond to different emergency situations if they were home alone for a period of time, and how to respond. At the end, after Miss Caroline and Miss Priscilla present, I have some different books, and there is a video linked on here if you are interested in signing up. She does have a class happening on Wednesday. Let me take a look. It is for 6th through 9th grade students, so it is 2 Wednesdays from 3 to 5:30. It's 3,000 baht because they do have some supplies and different things. But it is, I have to say, it's remarkable. I just asked that question and I realized my daughter went through this last year, so I'm a parent that went through it. My daughter did it in 6th grade. I would highly recommend it for every parent. It really was amazing, the level of confidence that my daughter had, just to be home, even if it was 10 minutes, and then know exactly what to do. If, you know, an electrical line went out in the street or something like that, and just basic CPR and first aid. They do get an actual certification from Red Cross, So it is something I highly recommend. And again, after Ms. Priscilla and Ms. Caroline present, if you're interested, please hang behind and I can answer questions and get your child registered for that. It's a wonderful opportunity. Last year, I think Linda had to do it 2 or 3 times because it became so popular. Once the kids did it, then a ton of kids wanted to take it the next session. But it's wonderful and a wonderful peace of mind also for you as parents to know that your child has a good understanding of how to deal with some emergencies. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to Miss Priscilla and Miss Caroline to do the small parenting session.